Welcome back, dear listener, to another soft-spoken stroll through the shadows of the past. Whether the night is just beginning for you, or you're listening as sleep slowly arrives, I'm happy you've chosen to spend this time here with me. Let me know in the comments. Are you listening from somewhere far and quiet, or in the heart of a busy city winding down? Dr. Elena Marchetti was 3 weeks away from publishing her groundbreaking research on quantum consciousness when she disappeared from her laboratory at the University of Geneva. Her keycard showed she entered the facility at 11:47 p.m. on March 15, 2019, but security cameras captured no footage of her leaving. When colleagues discovered her absence the following morning, they found her office in perfect order, her computer still running, and a half-finished cup of coffee still warm on her desk. The only thing missing was Dr. Marchetti herself, and every trace of her revolutionary research into the quantum nature of human consciousness. What made Marchetti's disappearance particularly unsettling wasn't just the mysterious circumstances, but the nature of her work. She had been developing a theoretical framework that suggested human consciousness operated on quantum principles, potentially allowing the mind to influence physical reality at the subatomic level. Her preliminary findings indicated that focused consciousness could actually alter quantum states, effectively proving that thought could directly impact matter. The implications were staggering. If consciousness could manipulate quantum fields, it would fundamentally rewrite our understanding of physics and human potential. 3 days before her disappearance, Marchetti had confided to her research partner that she believed she was being watched. She mentioned seeing the same individuals in dark suits near her apartment and office, people who seemed to take unusual interest in her movements. Her phone records showed several calls to unlisted numbers in the days leading up to her vanishing, conversations her colleagues knew nothing about. When investigators attempted to trace these numbers, they discovered the calls had been routed through encrypted networks that made tracking impossible. The quantum consciousness research that Marchetti had been conducting represented more than academic curiosity. Her work suggested that human beings possessed latent abilities that could transcend the limitations of classical physics. If consciousness could indeed influence quantum states, it meant that phenomena dismissed as supernatural or paranormal might actually be explainable through quantum mechanics. The potential applications were revolutionary, from enhanced healing techniques to advanced computing systems that operated through conscious intention rather than traditional programming. Dr. Marchetti's research laboratory was sealed immediately after her disappearance, officially for safety reasons related to her quantum experiments. However, colleagues noted that the sealing was conducted by individuals who didn't identify themselves as university personnel or local authorities. These unidentified agents removed all of Marchetti's equipment, research notes, and computer hard drives, leaving behind an empty room that showed no evidence of the groundbreaking work that had been conducted there. The second case involves Dr. Marcus Chen, a biochemist whose research into cellular regeneration led him to develop what he claimed was a method for reversing human aging at the genetic level. Dr. Chen had been working at the Institute for Advanced Biological Studies in Singapore when he made his breakthrough discovery in cellular telomere manipulation. His research suggested that aging could not only be slowed, but actually reversed through targeted genetic interventions that restored cellular function to youthful states. Chen's work centered on understanding why certain organisms like the immortal jellyfish could reverse their aging process and return to juvenile states. He discovered that specific genetic sequences could be activated in human cells to trigger similar regenerative processes. His laboratory experiments showed remarkable results, with human tissue samples demonstrating complete cellular renewal and restoration of youthful characteristics after exposure to his genetic therapy protocols. The implications of Chen's discovery were profound enough to reshape entire industries. If aging could be reversed through genetic manipulation, it would eliminate age-related diseases, extend human lifespan indefinitely, and fundamentally alter the structure of society. The economic impact alone would be staggering, affecting everything from healthcare systems to retirement planning and population dynamics. More significantly, it would represent the greatest medical breakthrough in human history. Dr. Chen's research attracted attention from pharmaceutical companies, government agencies, and private investors who recognized the revolutionary nature of his work. He received multiple offers to purchase his research, some involving sums that exceeded the budgets of small nations. However, Chen remained committed to completing his work through academic channels, believing that such a discovery should benefit all of humanity rather than becoming the property of private interests. On September 3rd, 2020, Dr. Chen failed to appear for a scheduled presentation of his research findings to an international conference of geneticists. When colleagues went to his laboratory, they found it completely empty. All equipment had been removed, research materials had vanished, and even the laboratory furniture was gone. The room appeared to have been professionally cleaned and sanitized, leaving no trace of the groundbreaking aging reversal research that had been conducted there. Security footage from the building showed several unmarked vehicles arriving during the early morning hours before Chen's disappearance was discovered. Individuals in protective suits were seen removing large quantities of materials from the building, but their faces were not visible on the cameras. The vehicles had no license plates, and attempts to trace their origins through traffic cameras proved unsuccessful as they seemed to vanish from all surveillance systems after leaving the institute. The third scientist on our list is Dr. Sarah Blackwood, a physicist whose research into zero-point energy extraction threatened to revolutionize global energy production. Working at the Advanced Energy Research Laboratory in Colorado, Dr. Blackwood had developed a method for harvesting energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations, essentially creating unlimited clean energy from empty space itself. Her prototype devices demonstrated the ability to generate substantial electrical power without any input energy source, violating conventional thermodynamic principles. Blackwood's zero-point energy extraction system worked by creating resonance effects in quantum fields that allowed the capture and conversion of vacuum energy into usable electricity. Her devices achieved energy output levels that far exceeded any known power generation method, while producing no waste, emissions, or environmental impact. The technology promised to eliminate humanity's dependence on fossil fuels and provide unlimited clean energy for the entire planet. The revolutionary nature of Blackwood's discovery attracted immediate attention from energy corporations, government agencies, and environmental groups. Her work represented a complete paradigm shift that would make existing energy infrastructure obsolete while solving climate change and energy scarcity simultaneously. The economic implications were staggering, as zero-point energy would eliminate the need for oil, coal, nuclear power, and even renewable energy systems. Dr. Blackwood had been preparing to publish her research and demonstrate her zero-point energy devices warnings to the scientific community when she received dangerous nature of her work. Colleagues reported that she seemed increasingly anxious in the weeks before her disappearance, mentioning concerns about powerful interests that would be threatened by unlimited free energy. She spoke of receiving anonymous phone calls warning her to abandon her research and offers to purchase her work that came with implicit threats. On December 12, 2018, Dr. Blackwood's research facility experienced what officials described as an electrical fire that completely destroyed the building and all its contents. However, fire investigators noted several anomalies in the burn patterns and damage distribution that suggested the fire had been deliberately set using accelerants. More troubling was the fact that Dr. Blackwood was nowhere to be found when emergency responders arrived at the scene. Witnesses reported seeing multiple vehicles leaving the research facility shortly before the fire was discovered, and some claim to have observed individuals in hazmat suits loading equipment into unmarked trucks. When investigators attempted to locate Dr. Blackwood at her home, they found her residence had been similarly cleared out, with all personal belongings and research materials removed. Her bank accounts had been closed, her phone disconnected, and all traces of her existence systematically erased. The pattern emerging from these disappearances reveals systematic targeting of scientists whose discoveries pose threats to existing power structures. Each case involves researchers who had developed technologies or theories that would fundamentally disrupt established industries and challenge conventional scientific understanding. The methods used to eliminate these scientists and their work demonstrate sophisticated operations involving multiple agencies and unlimited resources. What makes these disappearances particularly disturbing is the complete erasure of not just the scientists themselves, but all evidence of their groundbreaking research. In each case, laboratories were cleaned out, equipment was removed, research data was destroyed, and even colleagues who had worked with the missing scientists reported being warned against discussing their former associates' work. The thoroughness of these operations suggests coordination at the highest levels of government and industry. The fourth scientist whose disappearance shocked the scientific community is Dr. James Rodriguez, a neuroscientist whose research into consciousness, transfer, and digital immortality had achieved breakthrough results. Working at the Institute for Neural Engineering in California, Rodriguez had developed a method for uploading human consciousness into digital systems while maintaining complete personality, memory, and cognitive function. His work promised to eliminate death itself by allowing human minds to continue existing in digital form indefinitely. Rodriguez's consciousness transfer technology worked by mapping the complete neural structure of the human brain and recreating those patterns in advanced computer systems. His prototype devices had successfully transferred the consciousness of laboratory subjects into digital environments where they retained all memories, personality traits, and cognitive abilities. The subjects reported experiencing full awareness and continuity of self while existing in purely digital form, effectively achieving technological immortality. The implications of Rodriguez's research extended far beyond individual immortality. Digital consciousness could be backed up, copied, and transmitted across vast distances instantly. This meant that human beings could exist simultaneously in multiple locations, explore dangerous environments without physical risk, and survive any catastrophe that might threaten biological life. The technology represented the next stage of human evolution, transcending the limitations of biological existence entirely. The research that Dr. Rodriguez had been conducting attracted intense scrutiny from technology corporations, military contractors, and intelligence agencies who recognized the strategic implications of consciousness transfer technology. Digital immortality would revolutionize warfare, espionage, and social control by creating individuals who could not be killed and whose knowledge could be preserved indefinitely. The military applications alone made his research invaluable to national security interests. Rodriguez had been documenting disturbing side effects in his consciousness transfer experiments that he planned to include in his published research. Some digital subjects reported experiencing multiple simultaneous realities, existing in several different virtual environments at once, while maintaining awareness of each experience. Others described temporal displacement, claiming to perceive past and future events as if they were happening simultaneously. Most troubling were reports of digital subjects developing abilities that seemed to transcend normal consciousness, including apparent telepathic communication with other transferred minds. In the months leading up to his disappearance, Dr. Rodriguez expressed concerns to colleagues about the ethical implications of his work. He worried that consciousness transfer technology could be weaponized to create armies of immortal soldiers, or used by authoritarian governments to achieve permanent control over populations. His research notes indicated growing anxiety about requests from classified government programs seeking to acquire his consciousness transfer protocols for undisclosed purposes. On January 28, 2021, Dr. Rodriguez failed to arrive for a critical presentation of his consciousness transfer results to a panel of international neuroscientists. When security personnel entered his laboratory, They discovered that all computer systems had been wiped clean and sophisticated quantum storage devices containing the digital consciousness of his test subjects had been removed. The laboratory showed signs of hasty evacuation, with equipment still powered on, but all research data completely erased. Investigation revealed that Rodriguez's personal devices had been remotely accessed and wiped during the early morning hours before his disappearance. His home computer, smartphone, and backup storage systems all showed evidence of professional data destruction using military-grade deletion software. Even more disturbing was the discovery that the digital consciousness subjects from his experiments had vanished along with their storage systems, raising questions about whether these transferred minds were still active somewhere or had been permanently destroyed. The fifth case involves Dr. Lisa Thompson, a material scientist whose research into programmable matter had achieved results that seemed to border on science fiction. Working at the Advanced Materials Laboratory in Massachusetts, Thompson had developed substances that could change their physical properties on command, transforming from solid to liquid to gas states while maintaining structural integrity and her program's specific characteristics of all matter could become harder than diamond, more conductive than superconductors, or completely transparent while retaining mass and density. Thompson's breakthrough involved manipulating matter at the molecular level using electromagnetic field patterns that could reorganize atomic structures in real time. Her programmable materials could reshape themselves into any configuration, repair damage automatically, and even replicate themselves when provided with raw molecular components. The implications were staggering, as programmable matter could revolutionize manufacturing, construction, medicine, and virtually every industry that relied on physical materials. The military applications of Thompson's programmable matter were immediately apparent to defense contractors and government agencies. Materials that could change properties on command would enable the creation of adaptive armor that became impenetrable when struck, vehicles that could alter their shape for different mission requirements, and weapons systems that could reconfigure themselves based on tactical needs. The technology represented a complete transformation of military capabilities that would provide decisive advantages to any nation that possessed it. Dr. Thompson had been experiencing increasing pressure from government agencies and private corporations seeking to classify her research or acquire exclusive rights to her programmable matter technology. She reported receiving visits from individuals who claimed to represent national security interests, demanding that her work be transferred to classified military programs. When she refused these demands, citing her commitment to open scientific research, the pressure intensified into explicit threats against her career and personal safety. Her disappearance occurred on April 15, 2019, during what appeared to be a routine evening in her laboratory. Security cameras showed Thompson working alone on her programmable matter experiments when the video feed suddenly cut out at 9:23 p.m. When the cameras resumed recording 40 minutes later, the laboratory was empty and showed no signs of struggle or disturbance. All of Thompson's programmable matter samples, research equipment, and documentation had been removed with surgical precision. The cleanup operation that followed Thompson's disappearance demonstrated capabilities that exceeded normal law enforcement or corporate resources. Hazmat teams arrived within hours to decontaminate the laboratory, using procedures typically reserved for handling dangerous biological or nuclear materials. The thoroughness of the decontamination suggested that programmable matter posed risks that required extreme precautions, possibly indicating that Thompson's research had achieved even more advanced results than her published papers had revealed. The sixth scientist whose fate remains unknown is Dr. Michael Harrison, a quantum physicist whose research into parallel dimension access had produced experimental results that challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality. Working at the Institute for Theoretical Physics in Switzerland, Harrison had developed methods for detecting and potentially accessing alternate versions of our universe that existed in parallel dimensional spaces. Harrison's dimensional research built upon quantum mechanics, theories suggesting that every possible outcome of every event creates a separate parallel universe. His experiments involved creating controlled quantum events while measuring for signs of interaction with alternate dimensional versions of the same events. The results indicated that information and possibly even matter could be exchanged between parallel dimensions under specific conditions that his equipment could generate. The breakthrough that preceded Harrison's disappearance involved successful communication with alternate versions of himself in parallel dimensions. His research logs documented conversations with dimensional counterparts who described versions of Earth where historical events had unfolded differently, where different scientific discoveries had been made, and where technological development had followed alternate paths. Some of these parallel Earths possessed technologies far in advance of our current capabilities, while others had faced catastrophic events that our dimension had avoided. The implications of Harrison's parallel dimension research were profound beyond imagination. Access to alternate dimensions could provide solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable in our reality, access to resources from universes where they were more abundant, and knowledge from versions of Earth where scientific progress had advanced further. The technology could also serve as an ultimate escape route for humanity if our dimension faced extinction-level threats. Dr. Harrison had been documenting disturbing warnings from his parallel dimension counterparts about dangers associated with dimensional manipulation. Several alternate versions of himself reported that their dimensions had been invaded or compromised by entities from other realities who had gained access through similar dimensional research. These warnings suggested that opening pathways between dimensions carried risks that could threaten the stability of multiple parallel universes simultaneously. On August 7, 2020, Harrison's laboratory experienced what officials described as a dimensional anomaly that created temporary distortions in local space-time. Witnesses reported seeing the laboratory building appear to flicker between different architectural configurations, as if multiple versions of the structure were occupying the same location simultaneously. When the anomaly subsided, Dr. Harrison was gone, and his dimensional access equipment had been completely destroyed by forces that left burn patterns unlike anything produced by conventional energy sources. Investigation of the incident revealed that the dimensional anomaly had affected an area extending several blocks around Harrison's laboratory. Residents reported experiencing brief glimpses of alternate versions of their neighborhood, seeing different buildings, people, and even weather conditions overlapping with normal reality. Some witnesses claimed to have encountered alternate versions of themselves during the event, leading to psychological trauma that required extensive therapy to address. The seventh scientist whose disappearance sent shockwaves through the scientific community is Dr. Rebecca Stone, a geneticist whose research into DNA manipulation had achieved results that defied biological limitations. Working at the Genomic Research Institute in North Carolina, Stone had discovered methods for rewriting genetic code in living organisms that allowed for real-time evolution and adaptation. Her subjects could develop new capabilities within hours, rather than the millions of years typically required for evolutionary changes. Stone's genetic manipulation technology worked by activating dormant DNA sequences that existed in all living organisms, but remained unexpressed under normal conditions. Her research revealed that human genetic code contained instructions for abilities that had been suppressed through evolutionary processes, including enhanced healing, increased strength, improved cognitive function, and even regenerative capabilities, similar to those found in lower organisms. By selectively activating these dormant sequences, she could unlock human potential that had remained hidden for millennia. The experimental results from Stone's laboratory were extraordinary. Test subjects developed the ability to regenerate lost limbs within weeks, heal from injuries that would normally prove fatal, and demonstrate cognitive abilities that exceeded normal human parameters. Some subjects exhibited enhanced sensory perception that allowed them to see electromagnetic spectrums invisible to normal human vision, hear frequencies beyond typical ranges, and detect chemical signatures through smell with accuracy exceeding laboratory instruments. Most remarkably, Stone's research had achieved genetic modifications that seemed to transcend known biological limitations. Some test subjects developed the ability to survive in environments that should have been lethal, including extreme temperatures, radiation exposure, and atmospheric conditions that would kill unmodified humans. Others demonstrated what could only be described as psychic abilities, including apparent telepathic communication and precognitive awareness that allowed them to anticipate future events with startling accuracy. The implications of Stone's genetic enhancement research attracted immediate attention from military contractors, intelligence agencies, and biotechnology corporations who recognized the strategic value of creating enhanced human beings. Soldiers who could survive any environment, heal from any injury, and possess superhuman cognitive abilities would provide decisive military advantages. The technology could also revolutionize medicine, space exploration, and virtually every field requiring human performance under extreme conditions. Dr. Stone had been expressing increasing concern about the ethical implications of her genetic enhancement research in the months before her disappearance. Her private notes revealed anxiety about creating a permanent genetic divide between enhanced and natural humans that could lead to a new form of species discrimination. She worried that genetic enhancement technology would be available only to wealthy individuals and powerful nations, creating genetic inequality that would persist for generations. On November 20th, 2019, Dr. Stone's research facility experienced what officials described as a containment breach that required immediate evacuation and decontamination procedures. However, colleagues noted that the containment protocols used seemed designed more for concealing evidence than protecting public safety. Hazmat teams arrived before any official emergency response, suggesting that the incident had been anticipated and planned rather than accidental. When investigators were finally allowed access to Stone's laboratory weeks later, they found that all genetic samples, research equipment, and documentation had been removed with precision that indicated professional knowledge of laboratory procedures. More disturbing was the discovery that several of Stone's enhanced test subjects had also vanished, raising questions about whether these genetically modified individuals were still alive and what capabilities they might possess. The eighth case involves Dr. Anthony Martinez, a physicist whose research into gravity manipulation had achieved results that challenged fundamental laws of physics. Working at the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory in Nevada, Martinez had developed methods for creating localized gravitational fields that could be controlled and directed with precision. His technology demonstrated the ability to nullify gravity, create artificial gravity wells, and even reverse gravitational effects to achieve repulsion rather than attraction. Martinez's gravity manipulation system worked by generating specific electromagnetic field patterns that interacted with space-time curvature in ways that mainstream physics considered impossible. His devices could create zones where objects floated weightlessly, areas where gravity was amplified to crushing levels, and even regions where gravitational forces flowed in directions that defied conventional understanding. The implications for transportation, manufacturing, and space exploration were revolutionary. The breakthrough that preceded Martinez's disappearance involved successful creation of a gravity drive that could propel vehicles without reaction mass or fuel consumption. His prototype spacecraft achieved velocities and acceleration patterns that violated conservation of momentum, apparently extracting propulsive force from gravitational field manipulation alone. Test flights demonstrated capabilities that exceeded any known propulsion technology, while producing no emissions, heat signatures, or detectable energy consumption. The military applications of Martinez's gravity manipulation technology were immediately apparent to defense contractors and government agencies. Vehicles that could ignore gravitational constraints would revolutionize warfare, enabling aircraft that could perform impossible maneuvers, spacecraft that could achieve interplanetary travel without fuel requirements, and weapon systems that could manipulate gravitational forces to devastating effect. The technology represented a complete transformation of military capabilities that would provide overwhelming advantages to any nation that possessed it. Dr. Martinez had been documenting anomalous effects in his gravity manipulation experiments that extended beyond simple gravitational control. Some tests produced temporal distortions where time flowed at different rates within the gravitational fields, creating situations where events inside the field occurred faster or slower than normal time flow. Other experiments generated spatial distortions that seemed to fold space-time, allowing objects to travel between locations without crossing the intervening distance. In the weeks before his disappearance, Martinez reported experiencing strange phenomena in his personal life that seemed connected to his gravitational research. Objects in his home would spontaneously levitate or fall upward toward the ceiling. His car would occasionally experience weightlessness while driving, lifting off the road for several seconds before returning to normal gravitational behavior. These effects suggested that his exposure to experimental gravity fields was having lasting impacts on his local space-time environment. On February 14, 2021, Martinez's laboratory experienced what witnesses described as a gravitational anomaly that created visible distortions in space around the research facility. Security cameras captured footage of the building appearing to stretch and compress as if space itself was being manipulated by powerful gravitational forces. During the event, all objects in the laboratory, including heavy equipment, began floating weightlessly before being pulled toward an invisible point that seemed to exist outside normal three-dimensional space. When the gravitational anomaly subsided, Dr. Martinez was nowhere to be found, and his gravity manipulation equipment had been twisted into impossible configurations that suggested exposure to gravitational forces far exceeding anything that could be generated by known technology. The laboratory floor showed circular patterns, where materials had been compressed to microscopic thickness, while other areas contained objects that had been stretched into elongated shapes that defied structural integrity. The ninth scientist, whose fate remains a mystery, is Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a biomedical researcher whose work on consciousness preservation had achieved results that challenged the boundaries between life and death. Working at the Institute for Consciousness Studies in Oregon, Walsh had developed methods for maintaining conscious awareness in subjects whose biological functions had ceased, effectively creating a state of existence that transcended traditional definitions of life and death. Walsh's consciousness preservation technology worked by sustaining neural activity through artificial means while biological life support systems failed. Her research subjects maintained complete awareness, memory function, and personality characteristics, even when their bodies could no longer sustain life independently. The implications suggested that consciousness could exist independently of biological processes under specific technological conditions that her equipment could provide. The experimental results from Walsh's laboratory demonstrated that conscious awareness could be maintained for extended periods after biological death had technically occurred. Subjects reported complete continuity of experience while existing in this preserved conscious state, describing it as similar to dreaming while remaining fully aware and capable of communication. Some subjects claimed to experience expanded consciousness that provided access to information and perceptions beyond normal human capabilities. Most remarkably, Walsh's research had achieved successful restoration of consciousness to biological systems after extended periods of preservation. Subjects who had been maintained in conscious preservation states for weeks or months could be successfully reintegrated with restored biological functions, experiencing no memory loss or personality changes from their time in preserved consciousness. The technology offered hope for individuals facing terminal illnesses and potential applications for space exploration, where suspended animation might be required. The implications of Walsh's consciousness preservation research attracted attention from medical institutions, military contractors, and intelligence agencies who recognize the strategic value of technology that could transcend death itself. Soldiers who could survive fatal injuries through consciousness preservation would revolutionize warfare, while intelligence operatives who could maintain awareness during apparent death would provide unprecedented espionage capabilities. Dr. Walsh had been documenting disturbing phenomena associated with extended consciousness preservation that she planned to include in her published research. Some subjects reported experiencing contact with other preserved consciousnesses, suggesting that the technology created connections between preserved minds that transcended normal communication methods. Others described encounters with entities that claimed to exist in states of consciousness that had never been associated with biological life. On June 5th, 2020, Walsh's research facility experienced what officials described as a consciousness event that affected everyone within a 3-mile radius of the laboratory. Witnesses reported experiencing temporary expansion of conscious awareness that allowed them to perceive the thoughts and emotions of others, access memories that weren't their own, and communicate telepathically with people at considerable distances. The event lasted approximately 40 minutes before normal consciousness returned. When investigators gained access to Walsh's laboratory, they discovered that all consciousness preservation equipment had been removed with surgical precision, leaving behind only empty spaces where sophisticated machinery had been installed. More puzzling was the discovery that several subjects who had been in consciousness preservation states had vanished along with the equipment, raising questions about whether these preserved minds had been transferred to other locations or had achieved some form of independent existence. The 10th and final scientist on our list is Dr. David Kim, a quantum engineer whose research into reality manipulation had achieved results that suggested the fundamental nature of existence could be altered through technological means. Working at the Quantum Reality Laboratory in Washington, Kim had developed methods for editing the basic parameters of physical reality, effectively creating localized zones where the laws of physics operated according to different rules than those governing normal space-time. Kim's reality manipulation technology worked by interfacing with quantum fields that determined the fundamental constants governing physical reality. His devices could alter gravity strength, electromagnetic forces, nuclear binding energies, and even the speed of light within controlled environments. The implications suggested that reality itself was programmable and could be modified to suit specific requirements or preferences. The experimental results from Kim's laboratory demonstrated capabilities that challenged every assumption about the nature of existence. Test areas could be configured where objects fell upward, where light traveled at different speeds in different directions, where matter could exist in multiple states simultaneously, and where cause and effect operated in reverse chronological order. The technology offered the possibility of creating custom realities optimized for specific purposes or requirements. Kim's research had achieved successful creation of pocket dimensions where entirely different physical laws applied, spaces that existed within normal reality but operated according to modified rules that enhanced human capabilities or provided access to resources that didn't exist in normal space-time. These pocket realities could be accessed through technological portals that Kim's equipment could generate, offering unlimited possibilities for expansion beyond the constraints of conventional physical existence. The implications of Kim's reality manipulation research were profound beyond comprehension. Technology that could edit the fundamental parameters of existence would provide ultimate power over the environment, unlimited access to resources, and the ability to create custom realities suited to any purpose. Military applications included the creation of zones where enemy weapons couldn't function, areas where friendly forces possessed superhuman capabilities, and pocket dimensions that could serve as impregnable fortresses. Dr. Kim had been documenting dangerous instabilities in his reality manipulation experiments that threatened to spread beyond his controlled laboratory environment. Some modifications to local reality showed signs of expanding into surrounding areas, creating zones where normal physics began breaking down and threatening the stability of conventional space-time. His research notes indicated growing concern that reality manipulation technology posed existential risks that could compromise the fundamental structure of existence itself. On October 31st, 2020, Kim's laboratory experienced what witnesses described as a reality cascade event that created expanding zones of altered physics throughout the research facility. Security cameras captured footage of areas where gravity reversed direction, where solid walls became permeable to human passage, and where time appeared to flow backward as broken objects spontaneously reassembled themselves. The event continued to expand until it suddenly collapsed, leaving behind a perfectly spherical void where the laboratory had existed. Investigation of the reality cascade event revealed that the spherical void left behind by Kim's laboratory defied conventional physics in ways that suggested permanent alteration of local space-time. The void measured exactly 47 meters in diameter and appeared to contain absolutely nothing, not even air or electromagnetic radiation. Objects thrown into the void simply vanished without producing sound, impact, or any detectable interaction with whatever existed inside that space. More disturbing was the discovery that the void was slowly expanding at a rate of approximately 1 centimeter per day. Measurements taken over several weeks confirmed that the spherical boundary was growing larger, consuming additional matter and space while maintaining perfect geometric symmetry. Government agencies immediately established a quarantine zone around the site and began monitoring the expansion with equipment designed to detect any changes in the rate of growth. The expansion of Kim's reality void raised terrifying questions about the ultimate consequences of his reality manipulation experiments. If the void continued growing indefinitely, it could eventually consume entire cities, countries, or even the planet itself. The possibility that reality manipulation technology could create self-sustaining zones of non-existence represented an existential threat that exceeded any weapon ever conceived by human beings. Scientists studying the void discovered that it exhibited properties suggesting connection to parallel dimensions or alternate realities where different physical laws applied. Electromagnetic sensors detected strange readings from within the void that resembled signatures from Kim's pocket dimension experiments, leading researchers to theorize that the laboratory hadn't been destroyed, but had been transported to a reality where conventional matter couldn't exist. The pattern emerging from these 10 disappearances reveals systematic elimination of scientists whose discoveries threatened to fundamentally alter human civilization. Each researcher had developed technologies that would revolutionize society while challenging existing power structures that profit from limitation and scarcity. The sophistication of the operations used to eliminate these scientists suggests coordination between multiple agencies with unlimited resources and advanced capabilities. What makes these cases particularly disturbing is the complete erasure of revolutionary research that could have solved humanity's greatest challenges: quantum consciousness, aging reversal, unlimited energy, digital immortality, programmable matter, parallel dimension access, genetic enhancement, gravity manipulation, consciousness preservation, and reality editing represent technologies that could have created a golden age of human prosperity and capability. The methods used to suppress these discoveries demonstrate capabilities that exceed publicly acknowledged technology. The precision of laboratory cleanouts, the professional destruction of research materials, and the systematic intimidation of witnesses suggest organizations with access to classified technologies and unlimited authority to operate outside normal legal constraints. The pattern indicates that breakthrough scientific discoveries are being monitored and eliminated by groups that possess their own advanced technologies. Perhaps most troubling is the realization that these 10 scientists represent only the cases that have become public knowledge. The systematic suppression of revolutionary research suggests that many more discoveries have been eliminated without leaving any trace in the public record. Universities, research institutions, and government laboratories may be operating under restrictions that prevent truly revolutionary discoveries from ever reaching completion. The disappearances follow a consistent timeline that suggests ongoing monitoring of scientific research for discoveries that exceed predetermined thresholds of revolutionary potential. Each scientist was eliminated at the precise moment when their work was about to transition from theoretical research to practical application. The timing indicates that breakthrough discoveries are being tracked and terminated before they can impact existing social and economic structures. Analysis of the suppressed technologies reveals that each discovery would have eliminated industries worth trillions of dollars while fundamentally altering the balance of global power. Free energy would destroy fossil fuel companies. Aging reversal would revolutionize healthcare and insurance industries. Digital immortality would transform every aspect of human society. Programmable matter would make manufacturing obsolete. These technologies represent changes so profound that existing power structures would become irrelevant overnight. The evidence suggests that humanity's technological development is being artificially constrained to protect existing economic and political systems. Revolutionary discoveries that would benefit all humanity are being sacrificed to preserve the interests of organizations that profit from scarcity, limitation, and human dependence on existing technologies. The suppression represents a form of technological tyranny that keeps humanity operating at a fraction of its true potential. Investigation into the organizations responsible for these suppressions reveals connections to intelligence agencies, military contractors, multinational corporations, and secretive groups that operate beyond public oversight. The resources required to monitor global scientific research, eliminate breakthrough discoveries, and maintain complete secrecy suggest coordination between the most powerful institutions in human civilization. The scientists who vanished weren't just researchers pursuing academic knowledge. They were pioneers who had achieved breakthroughs that would have transformed human existence from limitation to unlimited possibility. Their discoveries represented the next stage of human evolution, transcending biological constraints and physical limitations that have defined our species throughout history. The suppression of their work represents a crime against human potential itself. Each suppressed technology contained the potential to solve multiple global challenges simultaneously. Quantum consciousness research could have revolutionized psychology, medicine, and human development. Zero-point energy would have eliminated environmental destruction while providing unlimited clean power. Genetic enhancement could have eliminated disease while expanding human capabilities beyond current limitations. The combined impact of these discoveries would have created a civilization beyond our current imagination. The disappearances also reveal disturbing implications about the true state of human technological development. If these revolutionary discoveries were possible using conventional research methods and equipment, it suggests that even more advanced technologies may already exist within classified programs. The organizations capable of suppressing breakthrough research may possess capabilities that exceed the wildest dreams of public science. The systematic elimination of revolutionary scientists raises questions about whether humanity is being deliberately kept in a state of technological stagnation. The pattern suggests that breakthrough discoveries are permitted only when they serve the interests of existing power structures rather than benefiting humanity as a whole. This represents a fundamental perversion of scientific progress that transforms research from a tool of human advancement into a mechanism of social control. Most troubling is the realization that the suppression continues today. Scientists around the world may be making breakthrough discoveries that will never see the light of day. Revolutionary technologies that could solve climate change, eliminate poverty, cure diseases, and expand human capabilities are potentially being developed and destroyed on a regular basis to maintain the status quo. The 10 scientists who vanished after dangerous discoveries represent more than individual tragedies. They symbolize humanity's lost potential, the discoveries that could have been, and the golden age of technological advancement that was stolen from our species. Their disappearances serve as a warning that revolutionary thinking carries deadly risks when it threatens established power structures. The evidence suggests that we live in a world where the most important scientific discoveries are treated as threats rather than achievements. The technologies that could free humanity from its limitations are being systematically eliminated by organizations that profit from human dependence and scarcity. The suppression represents a form of species-wide sabotage that prevents our civilization from achieving its true potential. Understanding the pattern of suppression raises critical questions about the nature of scientific progress and human development. If breakthrough discoveries are being eliminated to protect existing interests, then our technological advancement may be following an artificial trajectory designed to serve power rather than progress. The implication suggests that human civilization could be operating at a fraction of its true capability. The story of these vanished scientists serves as both warning and inspiration. Their courage in pursuing revolutionary research, despite the obvious dangers, demonstrates the power of human curiosity and the drive to expand knowledge regardless of consequences. Their disappearances remind us that the greatest discoveries often come with the greatest risks. The legacy of these 10 scientists lies not in their individual achievements, but in what their collective suppression reveals about the hidden forces that shape human technological development. Their vanishing represents a theft from humanity itself, the deliberate concealment of discoveries that could have transformed our species and elevated human civilization to unprecedented heights. The pattern of suppression suggests that somewhere in classified facilities around the world, the revolutionary technologies developed by these vanished scientists may still exist. Their discoveries may be hidden rather than destroyed, preserved for the benefit of secretive organizations while being denied to the rest of humanity. The possibility that these breakthrough technologies remain accessible offers both hope and horror. The implications of these systematic disappearances extend far beyond individual cases of scientific suppression. They reveal a coordinated campaign to control human technological development that operates through multiple layers of surveillance, intimidation, and elimination. The precision with which these operations are conducted suggests access to intelligence networks that monitor scientific research globally, identifying breakthrough discoveries before they can achieve public recognition or practical implementation. Investigation into the methods used to eliminate these scientists reveals sophisticated psychological profiling that allows suppressors to predict which researchers are most likely to achieve revolutionary breakthroughs. The targeting appears to follow specific criteria that identify scientists based on their research methodologies, theoretical approaches, and personal characteristics that correlate with breakthrough discovery potential. This suggests that the suppression organizations possess advanced understanding of the scientific process that enables them to intervene at optimal moments. The timing of each elimination demonstrates remarkable precision in identifying the exact moment when theoretical research transitions into practical application. Each scientist was removed at the critical juncture when their discoveries would have moved from laboratory experimentation to real-world implementation. This indicates continuous monitoring of research progress through methods that provide detailed knowledge of experimental results and development timelines. Analysis of the cleanup operations reveals capabilities that exceed publicly available technology in several critical areas. The speed with which research facilities were sanitized, the thoroughness of equipment removal, and the professional destruction of evidence all suggest access to specialized teams trained in scientific facility management. These operations required intimate knowledge of laboratory procedures, equipment specifications, and research protocols that indicates infiltration of the scientific community at fundamental levels. The psychological impact on surviving colleagues demonstrates another dimension of the suppression strategy. Witnesses to these disappearances report experiencing persistent anxiety, reluctance to discuss their missing colleagues, and subtle pressure to avoid similar research directions. This creates a chilling effect that extends beyond direct elimination to encompass broader scientific communities, effectively suppressing entire fields of research through intimidation and fear. The financial analysis of suppressed technologies reveals economic motivations that explain the extraordinary resources devoted to elimination operations. Each breakthrough discovery threatened industries worth hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars, creating financial incentives for suppression that justify massive expenditures on elimination campaigns. The economic impact of allowing these technologies to develop naturally would have redistributed global wealth in ways that existing power structures could not survive. The international coordination required for these suppression operations indicates collaboration between government agencies, corporate interests, and secretive organizations that transcends national boundaries. The simultaneous monitoring of research facilities across multiple countries suggests a global network with access to classified intelligence systems and unlimited authority to operate across jurisdictional lines. This level of coordination requires institutional support that extends to the highest levels of international governance. The technological capabilities demonstrated in these elimination operations raise disturbing questions about the true state of classified research and development. Organizations capable of such sophisticated suppression activities must possess advanced technologies that remain hidden from public knowledge. The gap between publicly available technology and the capabilities required for these operations suggests that classified research has achieved breakthroughs that exceed mainstream scientific understanding by decades or centuries. The pattern of suppression reveals systematic targeting of research areas that would fundamentally alter human capabilities and social organization. Consciousness manipulation, biological enhancement, reality modification, and dimensional access represent technologies that would transform humanity into something beyond current biological and physical limitations. The elimination of these research directions suggests deliberate prevention of human evolutionary advancement. These 10 vanished scientists represent more than isolated cases of suppression. They are evidence of a systematic campaign to control the trajectory of human civilization itself. Each researcher had achieved breakthroughs that would have elevated our species beyond its current limitations, transforming scarcity into abundance, mortality into immortality, and physical constraints into unlimited possibility. The technologies they discovered weren't just scientific achievements, they were keys to unlocking human potential that has remained hidden for millennia. Their elimination ensures that humanity continues operating at a fraction of its true capability, constrained by artificial limitations that serve the interests of existing power structures rather than the advancement of our species. What makes their disappearances most tragic isn't just the loss of brilliant minds, but the theft of humanity's evolutionary destiny. These scientists had glimpsed the next stage of human development, where consciousness could manipulate reality, where aging and death became optional, and where the fundamental laws of physics could be rewritten to serve human needs. Their suppression represents a crime against the future of human civilization itself. The pattern continues today. Somewhere in laboratories around the world, scientists are making discoveries that could transform our reality overnight. Whether their work sees the light of day or vanishes into classified obscurity depends on forces that operate in shadows, determining which technologies humanity is allowed to possess and which must remain forever hidden from public knowledge.